guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Monday. So before we get into today's video, if you watched last week's video, my impromptu one that went up on Wednesday, I announced that today, Monday, August 20th, I would be launching a brand new self-study course called Conquering NaNoWRIMO, your foolproof guide to writing 50,000 words in 30 days. I will leave the link to that video in the description box below so you can learn more about the course. I will also pop it up in the cards. I think it's on this side, but it might be on this side. But I'll pop it up in the cards. That way you can learn more about it. Go to the landing page on my website at KristenMartinBooks.com and sign up for that. I'm doing the pre-launch for only 2 weeks from today, August 20th to Monday, September 3rd. And that pre-launch includes the discounted price of 50% off. So everything you get, which is the detailed 35-page strategic workbook, the 4 weekly pep talk videos for the month of November, as well as the exclusive invitation to a private live stream event. That is all valued at $200, but for this pre-launch, I'm offering a 50% discount where you can get that whole bundle, everything I just mentioned, for just $97. So make sure you take advantage of that discounted pricing before it goes away, because in the month of September, after September 3rd, the registration for that course will close and it will not reopen again until later in September, and it will also reopen and relaunch at the higher price. Again, I will leave the link to the landing page for that course in the description box below. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and roll on into this week's video. Ow, my knees are cracking. Okay, let's get ourselves situated, shall we? Okay, just really need this to cool down. Got a pillow against my back, because I'm 30 now, you know? Gotta have the pillow and the support. Just pray to God these bookshelves don't come crashing down on me. And no, they're secured to the wall. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and happy Monday. We're in a bit of a different setting. I've filmed a couple of videos near this bookcase. Actually, no, I haven't, because they're new bookcases, so I guess it's the first time I'm sitting in front of my new bookcases in my new and updated office. We've talked a lot about productivity in my past 2 videos, so I wanted to post a different style video, again, just to see if it resonates with you guys. I hope that it will. I also hope that I'll enjoy making this style video. I think I will, because it's going to be very similar to my podcast and the types of material and content that we go over on That Smart Hustle, which, if you haven't listened to it, it's available to listen on iTunes and SoundCloud, and there are over 40 episodes available. Oh, it's so good. I love coffee, but tea in the afternoons is where it's at. I have a little bit of a caffeine sensitivity, not too much, but if I drink coffee in the afternoon, I will be up all night and I need my sleep. As I was saying, I wanted to bring that sort of vibe and feel to my channel every once in a while. I'm not sure how often these are going to be. I think we're going to call them Tea Time with KM. Tea Time, KM, yeah. And we're just going to talk about a topic or a group of topics or something that pertains to real life, whether it's life in general or something related to writing, but it's probably going to be more on the life side of things. So in today's chat, I want to talk about something that is very near and dear to my heart, and that is the topic, or moreover, the question, why aren't we going for it? And when I say that, I mean, why aren't we going after our dreams and what we really want to do? And why are we letting fear hold us back? If you hear meowing in the background, it's just my cat. A little backstory on me, if you're just popping by for the first time, or maybe you've only watched a couple of my videos. My name is Kristen Martin, and I'm essentially what you would call a creative entrepreneur. I write books and I create content. I love creating content. I love creating something from nothing. I've loved doing that ever since I was a child, but for a really long time, like most of my teenage years, I wasn't creating anything, and I was really focused on doing what, you know, society tells you should be doing at that age, which is going to school, getting an education, and in my case, prepping for college so I could then get a degree and get into the corporate world and, you know, become an adult, essentially, become financially stable and get my life together. And it wasn't but 4 years ago, when I was in the thick of doing just that, I realized something, a sort of hollowness, a void, if you will. I was like a robot. I was on autopilot, just going about my days, doing things just because I knew they needed to get done, and not really living. I was not living my life at all, or I wasn't living the life that I always dreamed or thought that I could live. And I think a lot of us feel this way, right? Because you have this idea in your head of what adulthood is going to look like, and you may have, built it up in your head quite a bit. You may have a lot of expectations, and when those expectations don't happen in the time frame that you're expecting, it can be a real big letdown. And I honestly believe, because I had run into so many obstacles and challenges when I was first starting out as an adult. I moved from Arizona to Houston, not knowing a soul here. I did it for a job. It was a great way to, I guess, start or jumpstart my journey into adulthood, but I had no idea what I was doing, and I also had no idea what it was I really wanted to do. And it wasn't until I spent time in the corporate world or in a corporate setting that I realized that my individuality and my uniqueness basically didn't fit in. I felt that way my whole life, just feeling like you don't really fit in anywhere, and you don't kind of fit in with what society tells you you're supposed to be. I was always very opinionated when I was a kid. A lot of people called me bossy. I was loud, I talked a lot, and I talked 100 miles a minute when I was younger. I had a lot of qualities and traits when I was a child that were sort of stifled as I grew up, or I guess I was stifling them, feeling like I couldn't be my true, authentic self. And I have to say, looking back now, I realized that if you try to hide who you are, your authentic, genuine, true self, it's going to come out eventually. You're not going to be able to keep it hidden for very long, and you'll have to find an outlet in order to become your true self. And for me, YouTube was that platform for me to really come out of my shell and be myself, express the wild, crazy dreams I had, these inner passions, these things that I was discovering. But one of the reasons why I think we don't go for it, or we're too afraid to express what we really want in life or who we really are, is of course fear of acceptance, because you have your peers, your family all around you, and in a sense maybe you don't want to disappoint them, or you want to fit into the little box that society has said, here, fit into this box and don't try to get out of it. This is what you should be doing with your life. I don't want to be in the box. I never wanted to be in the box, and I feel like the box is forced upon a lot of us, and that's not right. But it's up to us to know when we've been placed inside a box, or when that box has been forced upon us, so that we can break out of it. And about 4 years ago, that's exactly what I did. I didn't want to go for the things I really wanted because I was afraid of failure. I was afraid of acceptance or unacceptance, in a sense. I was afraid that I would go out and people would be like, what is this girl doing? Who is she? You worry that maybe people won't resonate with you. They'll wonder why you're doing what you're doing, why you think the way you think. And it's hard to be challenged and questioned, but I would rather be challenged and questioned and be my true, authentic self than to be someone I'm not and live this easy breezy life. So really, fear of acceptance and fear of failure are two major things that I think a lot of us start out feeling, especially when we kind of realize that maybe we're not happy, or our days are not filled with any sort of joy, or we feel like we're on autopilot, we're exhausted, we're tired, and we start to think maybe there's something more, maybe there's something better, maybe what I'm doing right now is not actually serving me, and this is a sign to kind of go on a little bit of a journey and a discovery to see what else is out there. But immediately, as soon as you think that, all these fears come in, right? You have that fear of acceptance, that fear of failure, fear of judgment. There's so many fears out there, things to be afraid of. But I will tell you, as someone who has been doing this and living her truth and her dream life for 3 years now, those fears pale in comparison to what my life looked like 4 years ago. I would face those fears over and over and over again if it meant I did not have to go back in time to 4 years ago when I was sitting there on autopilot, absolutely miserable, joyless, and passionless. When I think back to that girl sitting there at her desk, waking up, just going through her routine and not realizing what was actually going on, again, autopilot is the best word I can use to describe it. It makes me really sad because I wasn't living. That girl was not living. She was merely existing. And we're not put here on this earth to just exist. We're put here to live, to find our purpose and our passions, to make an impact, to leave a legacy behind, to wake up feeling joyful and happy. And so if you don't feel like that right now, I really hope that this tea time that we're having inspires you to make a change, or just dare to ask the question, dare to ask, what if? What if this happened? What if my life could look like this? What if I wasn't afraid? With these two major fears, fear of failure and fear of acceptance, I want to kind of share how I faced those fears, how I got over them, and how I'm not fully over them because I'm human and it's human nature to still struggle with things, to still doubt yourself, to still have those limiting beliefs, and to have that fear and the doubt creep in every once in a while. It's not something that you can permanently get rid of. It's something that will come around time and time again, but as long as you can recognize it and face it head on, stare it straight in the eye, you'll find a way past it, at least for the time being. So when it comes to fear of acceptance, which is also fear of judgment, right? You're afraid of being mocked or ridiculed, or having people ask, why do you think that way? Or why are you doing what you're doing? Or why do you want to write a book? Why do you want to become an author? Can you really, make money being an author? Do you really want to be a starving artist for the rest of your life? What I've come to realize is that when people ask you questions like that, they are projecting their own inner fears onto you. When I started to get really serious about writing my first book, The Alpha Drive, I did not tell a soul, not my family, not my friends, because I was scared. I was afraid of what they would say. I was afraid they would think it was a waste of time and, oh, you should be focusing your time and energy on work and getting a promotion and, climbing the corporate ladder, something along those lines. So I didn't tell anyone because I was afraid of what they would think. And you might be in that same situation right now where you want to keep it to yourself. You're not ready to share that news with anyone. And I want to tell you that you don't have to share it with anybody if you don't want to. You can write under a pen name and never tell a soul that you wrote that book. And that is what a lot of people decide to do, and that's great. But for me, I knew who I wanted to become, and I knew that I didn't want to hide behind the person that I was currently being, that inauthentic version of myself. I didn't want to hide behind her anymore. I wanted to really step into my truth. I wanted to evolve. I wanted to become that person. And so for me in my journey, I knew that that was taking that leap of faith and telling people what I was doing. And the main thing that I had to come to realize during that time when I was telling people, and it's still weird even now to this day when someone asks me what I do or if I'm traveling, like most recently when I was traveling on my book tour, I went to Canada and I had to go through customs. And when you go through customs and immigration, they ask you why you're here. And immediately there was like this little, just something in my head said, oh, just say you're here on vacation, you're just traveling for, for a few days. And I had to stop myself and take a breath and say, no, Kristen, you are an author and you are on your book tour that you put together, that you scheduled, that you planned. That's what you're here for. So I had to take a minute to remember that and to realize that I don't owe anyone anything. I don't owe anyone an explanation. I don't have to explain my choices or why I do the things I do. You don't have to explain any of it. And you also don't need anyone's permission, because whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is you want to be, you already are that deep down inside. You already are that person. You already have everything you need inside of you to truly live whatever that is. You've just been hiding it, or you've been hiding behind it. So I took a deep breath. I looked that border agent in the eye and I said, I'm an author and I'm here on my book tour. This is one of my stops. And he smiled at me and started up a conversation asking what types of books I write and where I got my ideas for my books. And I could just feel this immense weight being lifted off my shoulders because I spoke my truth. I told the truth. I said who I really am and the person that I am, because I am an author and I was there on my book tour. So why in the world would I suddenly have this flip-flop in my head like, oh, maybe you shouldn't say that, just say you're here on vacation. But we do it all the time. We do it all the time because we're afraid of judgment. I didn't even know this border agent and I was afraid, apparently, of what he would think of me. I'm never gonna see him again, never ever. So why do we care? Why do we care so much about other people's opinions and what they think of us? Why do we think we need someone else's permission to live the lives that we want to live? We don't. You are the only one living your life. You are the only one who's going to have to suffer the consequences if there are any. Your parents, your family, your friends, your grandparents, they're not going to have to suffer any sort of consequences for the mistakes that you make. It is your life and not anyone else's. No one else should dictate what you do with your life because it's not theirs to dictate. I think deep down what we all really want for our friends, our family members, our kids is for them to be happy. And I hate to break it to you, but none of us are inside anyone else's heads. We're only in our own heads. And so really, you may think this type of lifestyle or this plan you have laid out is what will make that other person happy, but you can't truly know that because you're not a mind reader and you're not inside their head. You don't actually know what they're feeling and what they're thinking on a daily basis. So we can give people guidance when they ask for it. We can give them advice when they ask for it. We can be their mentor when they ask for it. But pressuring our loved ones to be a certain way or to act a certain way, to do a certain job, to live a certain lifestyle because it's what society deems is right, it's just not our place. So whenever fear of acceptance or fear of judgment starts to rear its ugly head and I can see it sort of creeping in, I go back to those three main questions. Do I need this person's permission? Is this person truly trying to help me and give me advice? Or are they projecting their own fears and their own insecurities onto me? And number three is if I were to listen to that, to listen to the fear, to listen to what that other person is saying, what could I potentially be missing out on? And when you frame it like that and you answered those three questions, you'll realize you don't need anyone else's permission, that a lot of the time it's that other person's fears and insecurities being projected onto you, and that if you listen to those fears and you don't go after what it is you really want, you're going to miss out on something really life-changing, to be honest. So that's fear of acceptance, but then we also have fear of failure, which I think is more of an individual thing. And as someone who is a recovering perfectionist, which who knows, maybe that'll be another topic for one of my other tea times, you have to be okay with failing. And actually, the question I have started asking myself pretty much on a weekly basis now is, am I failing enough? And I know that might sound really counterintuitive, like failing enough. Why would you want to fail a lot? I want to fail a lot because that's how I learn. That's how I grow. That's how new opportunities come to me. If I'm not failing, then I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable and I'm just smooth sailing. And that might sound really great, but it's not, because I've been there before and I don't want to be there again. Smooth sailing and comfortable that's not where anything happens. That's not where you're living. It's not where life happens. Your passions essentially die when you're comfortable because you're not doing anything to challenge yourself. You're not doing anything to learn and to grow. Failure is nothing more than the universe's way of saying, hey, this wasn't the right door, this wasn't the right path for you, but you see that fork in the road? Go down that other path. You see that other door? Open that other door. Try that out for a change. That's all failure is. Just because you fail at one thing doesn't necessarily mean that it was the wrong thing to do. It just means you need to realign, maybe pick a new direction. Maybe the way you went about doing it just wasn't true to you. It wasn't an authentic journey. And so you kind of have to change course a little bit and try something different. And most likely you'll end up getting the same result, the result that you want later on down the road, but you may have to take a couple of different paths and open up a couple of different doors before you get there. I cannot even begin to tell you how many times I failed and still fail to this day when I'm just working on stuff along my author journey. I mean, I'm about to have 6 books published and I'm still learning and still making mistakes. I'm still going through my first drafts, heck, even my 4th drafts, and thinking, oh, like, I kind of failed to get this point across or to get this message across, and so I need to cut this whole entire scene or this whole entire chapter and rewrite it. There are so many days, you guys don't know this, but there are so many days when I sit down in front of the camera to film something and it's just not there, or I'm constantly fumbling over my words, the ideas just aren't coming to me, and I cannot seem to form a coherent sentence. There are so many days where this happens. I sit down and instead of thinking, oh, I suck, oh, I failed at that, I'm such a failure, I'm like, okay, so maybe today I'm just not really feeling it, so I'll try again tomorrow. Or maybe it's just the morning, maybe I need to go have some coffee, maybe I need to sit down and kind of journal through how I'm feeling, and then come sit back down in front of the camera. Maybe I need to prepare what I want to say a little bit more. Or maybe not, maybe I just need it to be free-flowing like this tea time is. If you're not failing, then you're not growing. And if you're not growing as a person, as a human being, then are you really living? Just something to think about the next time fear of acceptance and fear of failure start to creep into your mind. And so that concludes our very first tea time with KM. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. If you did, if you like the style of this video, please leave me a comment down below and also give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to click on that subscribe button as well as that little bell, because that bell will send you email notifications every time I upload a new video. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!